Listen closely. You can read every book on self-love, repeat 1,000 affirmations, and watch hours of inspiring videos, but still feel that gnawing emptiness inside. Why? Because without understanding one hidden truth, the love you seek will always remain just beyond your reach. This is not another theory to file away. What you're about to hear is a key, a perspective discovered in the depths of psychology by Carl Jung and echoed by philosophers for centuries. It is a key that unlocks why your relationships seem to repeat the same painful cycles, why you find yourself drawn to certain people and repelled by others, and why love, though desired, can feel so fleeting. And perhaps, if you're watching this, it is because some part of you already suspects that there is more, that beneath the surface of your daily struggles lies a deeper pattern. Something inside you is whispering that you've missed a truth so obvious it has been hiding in plain sight. This truth is not simply about accepting your shadow or balancing your energies, phrases that too often remain abstract. No, this is about applying those ideas in a way that transforms your life. It is about taking what is hidden in the unconscious and daring to bring it into the light. Think about it. Why is it that the people who make the deepest impact on us, whether through passion or through pain, linger in our minds far longer than strangers? Why does one person's words pierce like a dagger while another's bounce off as harmless noise? Jung believed this was no accident. Every relationship is a mirror, reflecting not only who the other person is, but more importantly, who we are. By the end of this journey, you will not only understand why you've struggled to feel fully loved, but you will also hold in your hands a strategy, practical, grounded, and deeply human, that can change how you relate to yourself and to everyone around you. Because here is the secret: your relationships are not random. The people who attract you, the ones who irritate you, the ones you cannot forget, they are all part of a silent dialogue between your conscious self and the hidden depths of your psyche. Imagine the last person who stirred something powerful within you. Perhaps it was love at first sight. Perhaps it was frustration so sharp you clenched your fists. That person was not just a passing figure in your story. They were a messenger, a mirror reflecting something buried deep inside, waiting for you to notice it. Maybe you're drawn to people who make you feel insecure, as though their presence exposes your fragility. Or maybe you're always frustrated by those who are too loud, too arrogant, too free. Traits you secretly reject in yourself. Every emotional spark, whether attraction or repulsion, is a clue, a doorway into your inner world. The real question then is not, why does this person act this way, but what is this person showing me about myself? This is where the key lies. Unlock it, and you begin a journey far more profound than chasing love. You begin the journey of truly becoming whole. Every encounter you've ever had, every spark of admiration, every flash of irritation is not random. It is a reflection, a mirror. Think of the last time you felt inexplicably drawn to someone. Maybe it was their confidence, their creativity, or their freedom. You admired them, perhaps even envied them. Jung would say that what you admired was not simply theirs, but also yours, an undeveloped aspect of your own nature, lying dormant, waiting for you to give it form. And what about the people who irritate you? The arrogant boss who makes your skin crawl, the friend who never stops bragging, the partner whose insecurities suffocate you. Their traits sting because they touch something raw within you, something you've repressed, denied, or refused to see. What we condemn most fiercely in others often points directly to the shadow we hide from ourselves. Attraction and repulsion, two sides of the same coin, both telling the same story. Here lies a part of you. You see, the universe is not cruel for sending you difficult people. It is precise. These encounters are not accidents. They are mirrors, polished by life itself. Think of it this way. When a person ignites a strong reaction inside you, they are holding up a mirror to your unconscious. Your laughter, your admiration, your jealousy, your anger, all of these are signals pointing to the same truth. The outer world is reflecting your inner one. This is what Jung meant when he spoke of the shadow, the collection of disowned qualities we pretend not to carry. Some of these shadows are negative: arrogance, selfishness, cruelty. But others are surprisingly positive: strength, confidence, brilliance. We repress not only what we fear, but also what we long to be. Imagine a child who learns early that being outspoken leads to punishment. They grow up quiet, hesitant, dismissing their natural boldness. Then, years later, they encounter someone unafraid to speak their mind. Instantly, a powerful reaction arises: admiration mixed with envy. That other person is not just inspiring, and they are a mirror revealing the lost voice inside the child, now adult. The same is true in the opposite direction. Perhaps you bristle at arrogance in others, convinced it is an unforgivable flaw. But deep down, that reaction may be less about them and more about you. Your own buried struggle with superiority, a trait you cannot bear to see in yourself. The relational mirror does not flatter. It does not lie. It shows us the fragments we have abandoned, both the darkness we hide and the brilliance we neglect. And while this realization may be uncomfortable, it is also liberating. For once you recognize the mirror, you hold the power to change. Relationships, then, are not just sources of joy or pain. They are instruments of revelation. They tell us not simply who others are, but who we are becoming. When someone triggers you, when they spark a fire of attraction or a storm of irritation, it is not simply about them. It is about the reflection of you that has been hiding all along. This is the essence of projection. Think of your relationships as a repeating stage play, with new actors stepping into the same roles again and again. Why do you keep attracting the same type of partner? Why do similar conflicts return, no matter how the faces change? These patterns are not coincidences. They are your unconscious writing the script over and over until you finally pay attention. Attraction and repulsion are mirrors of equal power. When you are drawn to someone's freedom, it may be because you have lived a life hemmed in by structure and control. Their spontaneity reflects the part of you that longs to be unshackled. When arrogance in another person makes your blood boil, perhaps you too wrestle with pride, a pride you have buried so deep you cannot admit it, even to yourself. This is why Jung's shadow is not a poetic metaphor, but a psychological reality. The shadow is the bundle of traits, fears, desires, impulses that we exile from our conscious identity. We say, "That's not me." But life has a way of bringing those exiles back, wearing the faces of other people. Consider this. You may despise someone for being selfish, yet a deeper look reveals that you too have selfish impulses you've been taught to bury. Or you may idolize someone's courage, blind to the fact that the seed of that same courage lies dormant within you, waiting for cultivation. Projections shape not only whom we are drawn to, but also whom we avoid. You may keep your distance from ambitious people because their hunger for achievement unsettles you, perhaps because you've denied your own ambitions for years. Avoidance is just as revealing as attraction. Both are the shadow calling you home. But to engage in this work requires honesty, the kind that strips away all excuses. It demands courage to admit, the qualities I most resist in others are the ones I must face within myself. And here is where the shift begins. For once you understand that the world around you is a mirror of the world within you, your relationships stop being accidents. They become teachers, each one pointing you toward the fragments of yourself that still wait to be acknowledged, embraced, and integrated. The people who challenge you most are not random obstacles. They are your greatest teachers. Every difficult relationship, every argument that lingers in your chest, every person you cannot seem to forgive, these are not detours in your journey. They are the journey. When Jung explored the depths of the psyche, he saw that the shadow is not meant to be destroyed, but integrated. And relationships are the forge where this integration happens. The friend whose criticism cuts too deep, the partner whose distance awakens your fears of abandonment, the rival whose success makes you seethe with envy, they are not coincidences. They are karmic messengers. Mirrors polished to reveal what you have not yet embraced within yourself. Think of the irritation you feel toward someone close to you. Why does it cling so stubbornly? Because beneath it lies something deeper, a reflection of your own wounds. The truth is, what bothers you most in others is often a disguised reminder of the work left undone in yourself. But here's the paradox. Once you learn to see these relationships as mirrors instead of battles, they transform. The boss who once seemed arrogant becomes a reminder of your own need to step into authority. The partner whose insecurity exhausted you becomes a mirror of your own longing for reassurance. The friend who betrays you reveals your unhealed fear of abandonment. In that moment, the blame shifts. Instead of asking, "Why are they doing this to me?" you begin to ask, "What part of me is this showing me?" That question is the beginning of healing. This does not mean excusing harmful behavior. Boundaries remain vital. But it does mean reclaiming power. Because when you realize that every relationship, pleasant or painful, is a reflection of you, you stop living as a victim of circumstance. You begin to see life itself as a conversation between your conscious self and your hidden depths. And here, another truth emerges. Just as others mirror you, you are a mirror for them. When someone lashes out at you, their anger may not be about who you truly are, but about what they see of themselves reflected in your presence. This understanding breeds compassion. It allows you to step out of cycles of retaliation and into cycles of awareness. The ultimate purpose of relationships is not comfort, but transformation. They are classrooms disguised as love stories, friendships, rivalries, and even heartbreaks. They teach us relentlessly to integrate the scattered fragments of ourselves until we become whole. Integration is not a sudden revelation. It is a slow, deliberate process, like piecing together fragments of a shattered mirror until you can finally see yourself clearly. At first, it feels uncomfortable because the shadow resists exposure. Yet, step by step, you begin to notice the signs. The first step is awareness. Each time you feel a surge of emotion, anger, jealousy, admiration, shame, you pause. Instead of reacting blindly, you study the feeling, as if you were a scientist examining a rare specimen. No judgment, only curiosity. Why does this moment sting? Why does that person's presence light a fire within me? Over time, this simple practice begins to shift your reality. The people who once had the power to ruin your day no longer hold that same grip. Their actions remain the same, but your perception transforms. The wound inside you is no longer raw. It has begun to heal. And with healing comes an extraordinary discovery. Your shadow was never only darkness. Yes, it contains traits you dislike, your arrogance, your envy, your fear of vulnerability, but it also contains the gifts you abandoned, your buried creativity, your suppressed courage, your silenced voice. Integration is not about perfection. It is about reclaiming what you once exiled. Think of the artist who denies their own talent for fear of failure, only to find themselves endlessly admiring the work of others. Or the child who was punished for speaking boldly, growing into an adult who admires courage in everyone but themselves. These qualities live in the shadow until you give them permission to breathe. When you begin to reclaim them, something astonishing happens. The relationships that once mirrored only your wounds begin to mirror your wholeness. Instead of being drawn to partners who echo your insecurities, you find yourself connecting with those who resonate with your strength. The reflection changes because you have changed. This journey is not linear. Some days the old patterns resurface. You may feel tempted to fall back into familiar roles of blame or avoidance, but each time you choose awareness over reaction, you strengthen new pathways in your psyche. Neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity. Jung called it individuation. Mystics simply called it awakening. Different words, one truth. The more you embrace your shadow, the more you become whole. And wholeness changes everything. You no longer approach relationships like a beggar seeking scraps of validation. You enter them as a creator, offering the fullness of who you are. Love then ceases to be a desperate search. It becomes a natural expression of the completeness you have cultivated within. For most of us, love begins as a pursuit of happiness. We chase the perfect partner, the perfect bond, the promise of security and joy. Yet the truth, as Jung and so many before him observed, is that love is not primarily about happiness. It is about growth. Every relationship you enter is less a destination and more a classroom. The moments of tenderness are lessons in trust. The arguments are lessons in patience. The heartbreaks are lessons in resilience. Love is the most relentless teacher because it does not let you hide from yourself. In intimacy, your deepest fears and unhealed wounds inevitably surface. Attachment theory confirms this truth. The way you bonded with your earliest caregivers, the way you learned to receive affection, to manage fear, to survive rejection, becomes the template for how you navigate adult relationships. A child who learned that love was inconsistent often grows into an adult who unconsciously seeks the same inconsistency because it feels familiar. Even when it hurts, what is familiar feels safe. This is why we repeat patterns that make no sense on the surface. Why someone raised in chaos may feel uneasy in calm relationships. Why someone abandoned as a child may cling desperately, or else push partners away before they can leave. These patterns are not evidence of weakness. They are survival strategies written into the psyche long before you had the power to choose. But here lies the opportunity. Once you recognize these patterns, you can rewrite them. The mirror of love, though sometimes harsh, is also generous. It shows you not just what is broken, but what is possible. Each relationship is an invitation to ask, what is this teaching me about myself? Heartbreak, for example, can feel like an ending, but in truth, it is a revelation. It exposes the illusions you carried, the unmet needs you projected, the fears that drove your choices. In the ashes of loss lies the chance to see yourself more clearly than ever before. Mature love then does not demand perfection. It seeks evolution. Two people, whole enough to face themselves, choosing to walk together not to complete each other, but to expand together. In such a bond, every conflict becomes a doorway to deeper understanding, every obstacle a chance to grow, not just as partners, but as individuals. Paradoxically, when you embrace love as a path of self-discovery, happiness comes more deeply and more lastingly, because it is no longer built on the fragile foundation of unmet needs. It is rooted in awareness, in wholeness, in the willingness to see both your light and your shadow reflected in the eyes of another. Some people wonder if they are cursed, why they always end up in the same kind of painful relationship. But what feels like fate is often something else entirely, subconscious programming. The patterns you repeat are not punishments from the universe. They are echoes from the past. These cycles begin in childhood. The first time you learned what love meant, what safety felt like, or what rejection did to your heart, your brain quietly wrote the rules. If affection was given only when you performed well, you may now find yourself chasing approval in every romance. If you were comforted one moment and criticized the next, inconsistency may feel like home, even though it hurts. This is why you can walk away from one toxic partner only to find yourself with another who feels eerily similar. The faces change, but the story remains the same. Your subconscious is not seeking happiness. It is seeking familiarity. The body confuses repetition with safety, even when that repetition is destructive. Behind every toxic cycle lies a belief, hidden deep within. I am not enough. I do not deserve loyalty. I am not safe to be myself. These beliefs act like magnets, drawing people who confirm them. If betrayal has carved its mark on you, you may unconsciously expect it, and so you attract it. If control suffocated you once, you may now find yourself both resisting and recreating that control in your adult life. But the good news is this: patterns can be broken. Neuroscience tells us that every thought, every reaction strengthens a neural pathway. But new pathways can be formed through awareness and choice. This is why reflection is so vital. When you notice that familiar sting, that same old argument, that same type of person, you pause. You ask, what wound is this repeating? What story am I living again? Exercises help. Journaling your relationship history as if it were a film can reveal themes you never noticed before. Writing down your triggers, the moments when your reaction feels far bigger than the situation, gives you clues about the wounds still bleeding beneath the surface. Perhaps a partner showing up late triggers an outsized fear of abandonment. Perhaps a casual joke about your appearance reopens the scar of childhood shame. These are not small details. They are the fingerprints of your subconscious on your present life. And until you acknowledge them, the cycle will repeat with mathematical precision. But recognition is the first crack in the pattern. When you see the cycle, you are no longer just a character in the story. You are also the author. Awareness is only the beginning. Once you recognize the patterns repeating through your relationships, the next step is the hardest, choosing differently. And here lies the power that many overlook. You are not condemned to replay your childhood wounds forever. The brain itself, through neuroplasticity, can be rewired. But let's be clear, rewiring does not feel comfortable. If you've always been drawn to chaos, a calm and stable partner may at first feel dull. If drama has been your constant companion, peace may feel strangely empty. This discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It is proof that you are leaving behind the familiar and stepping into the unknown. Growth rarely feels natural at the start. Toxic attraction often has a bodily signature. Pay attention to it. Notice the flutter in your stomach, the racing pulse, the false sense of safety that comes when you are pulled toward someone who echoes your old wounds. That thrill is not love. It is the body recognizing its pattern. The moment you name it, you create space for choice. And choice is where transformation begins. You can decide to pause instead of plunging headlong. You can choose to set boundaries instead of losing yourself. You can choose to value consistency over intensity, truth over illusion. Each time you make a new choice, you carve a new neural pathway. Slowly, the old circuits weaken. Slowly, the new ones strengthen. Boundaries are the most powerful tools in this process. They are not walls built against others, but lines drawn in devotion to yourself. A person who continually disrespects your worth cannot remain close. A relationship that demands you abandon your identity cannot continue. Boundaries are self-love in action, disrupting the cycles of self-sabotage. Yet transformation is rarely linear. You may stumble back into old patterns, return to old partners, or repeat old mistakes. But each time you catch yourself, you reclaim power. Each moment of awareness is like a weight added to the stronger side of the scale, tipping you toward freedom. Remember, your brain is not static. With every new act of awareness, every boundary honored, every healthier choice made, you are literally reshaping your inner world. What once felt inevitable becomes avoidable. What once felt like destiny becomes history. The goal is not to create a perfect relationship or a flawless self. The goal is freedom, the freedom to choose with clarity, not compulsion, the freedom to love without the strings of old wounds pulling you back into the past. At some point in this journey, the question shifts. It is no longer, why don't they love me enough? But rather, why don't I love myself enough? For the deeper you explore, the clearer it becomes. Every pattern, every toxic cycle, every painful attraction is rooted in the absence of one essential force: self-love. This is not the shallow self-love of slogans or quick fixes. It is not a face mask, a day off, or a motivational quote. Authentic self-love is radical. It is the recognition that your worth is not conditional, not earned through performance, beauty, or approval. It is your birthright, as natural as breathing. And yet, we live in a culture that trains us to believe otherwise. From childhood, we are told that our value lies in grades, achievements, appearances. We learn to measure ourselves against impossible standards, and when we inevitably fall short, we turn against ourselves. The result is an inner critic so harsh that no partner's love can ever silence it. Here is the paradox. The very thing you seek from others, acceptance, tenderness, belonging, can only truly take root when you first give it to yourself. Without it, relationships become arenas of desperation, where you demand from others what you withhold from your own soul. But with it, relationships transform into spaces of expansion, where love flows because you already carry it within. This is why Jung insisted that integration of the shadow was essential, because the shadow contains not only the flaws you fear, but also the gifts you have abandoned. Your brilliance, your creativity, your strength, they too live in the dark corners you've refused to illuminate. To love yourself is not to ignore your imperfections, but to embrace the whole of who you are, light and shadow alike. Self-love is not narcissism. In fact, it is the antidote to narcissism. True narcissism arises from insecurity, from an emptiness that constantly seeks external validation. Authentic self-love comes from wholeness. It says, I am enough, as I am, even in my imperfection. From this ground, you no longer need others to complete you. You meet them as an equal, not a beggar. The practice of self-love is daily, not one time. It means speaking to yourself with compassion when old wounds reopen. It means honoring your needs, setting boundaries, and refusing to betray yourself for the sake of approval. It means looking in the mirror, not just at your reflection, but at your essence, and saying, I see you. I will not abandon you again. And here lies the revolution. When you stop chasing love outside yourself, you begin to attract relationships that reflect your wholeness instead of your wounds. The partners you draw are no longer mirrors of your unhealed pain, but mirrors of your self-acceptance. You are no longer pulled toward those who confirm your unworthiness, but toward those who honor your worth. Self-love is not the end of the journey. It is the foundation. From it, everything else, healing, intimacy, authenticity, becomes possible. There is a paradox at the heart of this journey. The love you've been searching for was never outside of you. It was always within, waiting to be recognized. Like a fish desperately searching for the ocean while swimming in it, you have been immersed in love all along. This is the truth that sages, mystics, and poets across centuries have whispered, love is not something you do or find. Love is what you are. Every time you stop running from yourself and begin embracing your wholeness, you uncover this reality. When you live from this place, relationships transform. They are no longer arenas of need, where you beg for validation or fight for scraps of attention. They become expressions of abundance. Instead of saying, love me so I can feel whole, you begin to say, I love because I am whole. The difference is profound. This shift also reshapes what you attract. When you vibrate from lack, you are drawn to people who mirror your wounds. But when you vibrate from wholeness, you resonate with those who mirror your strength. The drama fades. The desperation dissolves. What remains is connection, authentic, expansive, liberating. This does not mean life becomes free of challenges. Relationships will still test you, still bring your shadows into the light. But you will face those moments not as a fractured self grasping for completion, but as a whole being meeting another whole being. Every conflict becomes an opportunity for growth. Every disappointment a reminder of your resilience. Every heartbreak a passage into deeper wisdom. The daily practice of this truth is simple, though not always easy. To remember, again and again, that love is not outside. It is within. Each time you forgive yourself, you embody it. Each time you speak to yourself with compassion, you practice it. Each time you choose integrity over approval, you live it. And here is the final key. No one will ever love you as deeply as you can love yourself. Not because others are incapable, but because no one else can access the hidden corners of your soul the way you can. When you finally accept this truth, love ceases to be a desperate search. It becomes your essence, your gift, your way of moving through the world. So let this be the lesson you carry forward. Love is not a destination. It is not something to be earned or seized. It is the core of who you are, waiting patiently beneath the noise of fear and the weight of old wounds. And when you recognize that truth, every relationship, whether fleeting or lasting, joyful or painful, becomes an expression of the love that has always been yours.